It started with a broken watch. A cheap, battered thing I kept on my nightstand for years. Every night I'd glance at it, remind myself that time was slipping away. Just like my dignity that day at Crestwood Manufacturing. That's where it all fell apart, where I learned what betrayal really looked like. I was working at Crestwood in the small town of Haven Ridge, trying to make a life, one shift at a time. I'd been there for 3 years, busting my ass on the assembly line, grinding through overtime just to keep my head above water. I thought I was doing okay. Nothing spectacular, but steady. Then, Melissa, my supervisor, and someone I'd trusted, pulled me aside one Tuesday afternoon, her face tight and serious. She handed me a printed email, her voice cold and clipped. "You need to see this," she said. I took it, my stomach sinking even before I read the first line. It was from the company's HR and anonymous complaint, accusing me of sabotage, of intentionally damaging the line. The words hit me like a punch in the gut. I knew it was a lie. I knew who was behind it. It was Jake, my coworker, and a guy I'd shared a few drinks with outside work. I'd always thought he was my friend. But that day as I read the email, I realized he'd set me up. He'd framed me. For months, I'd been struggling with a shoulder injury, barely able to keep up. And he saw an opportunity. I felt my bones turn cold. My trust shattered in an instant. That betrayal, so sudden, so complete, felt like a knife twisting in my chest. The room spun. I could hear Melissa's voice, distant and hollow, as she told me I was suspended pending investigation. My mind was a blur of shock, of anger, of humiliation. I remember clutching that broken watch, my only keepsake of better days, feeling like I'd been punched through the ribs. Everything I'd worked for, gone in an instant. I sat there in that empty break room, staring at the cracked glass face, and wondered how I got here. But even then, in that moment of ruin, something inside me refused to break completely. I clenched my fists and made a silent vow. This wasn't the end. Not yet. That was the day I promised myself, never again. I didn't care about revenge. I just wanted to become someone they couldn't ignore. I knew I had to change everything. I had to leave. I had to become stronger, smarter. I packed my things that night, slipped out of Haven Ridge under cover of darkness, and drove to Portland, hundreds of miles from the wreckage of my life. I didn't tell anyone. I just took my battered watch, a few clothes, and a burning desire to rebuild. The grind began there. I slept in my car for weeks, taking night classes at Rickson Technical Institute, working part-time at a gas station during the day. Rejection after rejection came, hundreds of applications, dozens of interviews, each one more demoralizing than the last. I felt like an imposter every morning, questioning if I'd ever make it out of this hole. But I refused to give in. I learned coding, took online courses, started small projects in my spare time. I applied for jobs I wasn't qualified for, just to get my foot in the door. I faced rejection that stung like needles, but I kept going. Every rejection was fuel. Every small win, getting a callback, acing a test, kept me moving forward. There were nights I wanted to quit, when loneliness clawed at my chest, when imposter syndrome screamed in my ear. But I kept telling myself, this is the part. I'm forging myself into someone who can't be broken. And slowly, I changed. My skills grew, my confidence sharpened. I started freelancing, then landed a small contract. I built my portfolio, kept pushing. I knew I was transforming, even if nobody else saw it yet. Until one day, I finally got the call. An interview at a rising tech startup in Portland. An opportunity to turn everything around. I prepared when my life depended on it. I showed up and I nailed it. I got the job. Months passed. I worked my ass off, climbing the ranks. My new company, Nexus Innovations, grew faster than I expected. I poured my soul into it. And somewhere along the way, I realized I was no longer the broken, betrayed worker from Haven Ridge. I was someone new, someone unbreakable. Then, the moment I'd been waiting for came unexpectedly. It was a rainy afternoon when I ran into Jake at a networking event. He looked the same, smirking, arrogant, like he hadn't a care in the world. But I saw through that facade. I saw the coward hiding behind it. He approached me, trying to act like we were friends. I looked him in the eye, my voice steady and cold. "You remember how you did to me at Crestwood?" He blinked, caught off guard. I could see the recognition flicker in his eyes. Then I let him see the truth. "You thought I'd fade away? You thought I'd disappear, but I didn't. I built myself from the ground up. I outworked your lies, outcoded your schemes, and now I run my own company, Nexus Innovations. Yeah, that's mine now, and I don't forget the ones who try to tear me down." He looked stunned, speechless. I didn't need to say more. My success was the loudest reply I could give. The rain washed over us, but I felt dry inside, soaked in victory. He didn't even recognize me at first. That was the point. I didn't need to say a word. My life was louder than any apology he could have given. Sometimes I catch myself staring at that broken watch, reminding me how far I've come. The shattered face, now a symbol of my rebirth. I remember the pain, the loneliness, the betrayal. But I also remember the vow I made that rainy night in Haven Ridge. That moment of betrayal was the inciting wound. The turning point was my decision to fight back, to transform my pain into power. The crucible was the year of relentless grind, learning, failing, rising. And the reckoning? Seeing Jake's face, realizing I'd finally won. If there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's this. That could be me. I can get out too. No matter how deep the betrayal, how heavy the scars, you can rebuild. You just have to decide. No more excuses, no more waiting. Because the past doesn't define you. Your comeback does. And trust me, it's sweeter than you think.